So here's a comparison of the two, and this is a quote from pages 76 through 77. Quote, "Banking education, for obvious reasons, attempts, by mythicizing reality, to conceal certain facts which explain the way human beings exist in the world. Problem-posing education sets itself the task of demythologizing. Banking education resists dialogue. Problem-posing education regards dialogue as indispensable to the act of cognition, which unveils reality. Banking education treats students as objects of assistance. Problem-posing education makes them critical thinkers. Banking education inhibits creativity and domesticates, although it cannot completely destroy, the intentionality of consciousness by isolating consciousness from the world, thereby denying people their ontological and historical vocation of becoming more fully human. Problem-posing education bases itself on creativity and stimulates true reflection and action upon reality, thereby responding to the vocation of persons as beings who are authentic only when engaged in inquiry and creative transformation. In sum, banking theory and practice, as immobilized and fixated forces, fail to acknowledge men and women as historical beings. Problem-posing theory and practice make the people's historicity as their starting point. Problem-posing education affirms men and women as being in the process of becoming, as unfinished, uncompleted beings in and with a likewise unfinished reality." End quote. So here's a quick summary that compares the two approaches. So banking education is creating a false reality, whereas problem-posing education is looking at trying to deconstruct that false reality. Banking education does not engage in dialogue, while problem-based education really is all about dialogue, which we'll learn more about in the episode 2 weeks from now on Chapter 3. Banking education treats students as passive, whereas problem-posing education focuses on critical thinking. Banking education prevents creativity, while problem-posing education focuses on creativity. And banking education does not take into account some of the contexts and hegemonic influences or social pressures that are influencing kids and adults. Whereas problem-posing education really focuses on the humanization that can occur through education. Which, by the way, Freire reminds us, the readers, that the goal of education should be humanization. Therefore, we should not strive to flip the roles of oppressor and oppressed, but should instead focus on humanizing everyone through fellowship and solidarity. So in other words, if you're in a CS education class, the goal is to not make it so that suddenly the students are in charge and the teacher now has to listen to and report to the students, but instead trying to make it more horizontal in terms of the hierarchical structure. The students and teachers working in collaboration with each other and learning from each other. Which again, many of the previous interviews and unpacking scholarship episodes talk about that. This excerpt of the CSK8 podcast is from episode number 52, which is titled Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Chapter 2. You can listen to the full episode as well as hundreds more by searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app or by going to jaredoleary.com.